Just a quick update, the Patreon page is now live. The link will be down below if you want to check it out. You'll have access to all of my betting packages and much more. Thanks again for all the support, but for now, let's get into the video. Yo, so what's up guys? We're back this week. It's going to be for UFC Vegas 18. This is actually a really good card on paper. In my opinion, it's a long card, 14 fights, but a lot of interesting fights, a lot of good things to talk about here. And with this first fight of the night, we have, in my opinion, a pretty good fight. And it's a fight that's intriguing because it's two guys that we really haven't seen very much of, with Osbourne taking on Bondar. And, for Bondar, he's going to be making his debut. He's won 7 fights in a row. He's finished all of those fights, and he's finished actually all 14 of his wins overall. So definitely goes in there, tries to get his work done early. He hasn't really faced high-level competition, but at least he's taken them out, and his nickname serves him well, man. He's a psycho. He fights that way, very tenacious. He's a good athlete, good solid speed. Isn't the best striker, but he knows that, and he has pretty good footwork, defense, and tries to cut off the cage, uses forward pressure, use the combinations to crash that distance and, get where he wants to be, which is the grappling. But he's pretty athletic. He'll close the distance with some straight punches. And from there, he does have some nice multi-punch combinations in the pocket. He's good at going to the body, getting you tired. He will throw some low kicks, but is a little bit sloppy, wild at times. Against Osbourne, I do see him struggling with the speed and range if he can't find the takedown, and definitely think that he's at a disadvantage on the feet. But I don't think it's anything like super crazy in terms of the striking disadvantage, just because he does have the threat of the takedown, which has to respect. And he has 4 knockouts. He's never been finished by strikes, and he's a grinder. His grappling is very good. He has great level changes, good timing on his doubles, and he's very physical. He'll get big slams. And when he gets fighters against the fence, he's really good at shooting in, chain wrestling. And in the clinch, he'll punish opponents. He has big knees. He'll get the tie plum, and he'll start spamming knees to the body, to the head. He'll even throw flying knees in the clinch. I've seen Bondar struggle a little bit to take down tall opponents in the clinch. When he faced a fighter named Kiwan Rangel, he did Rangel did a good job of denying a couple takedowns. He even got on top, and he was even briefly able to take the back of Bondar. But Bondar is very solid on the ground, even off his back, and was able to scramble back to his feet pretty quickly. On top, he has a really crushing top game, good pressure passing, and really mean with his ground and pound. He uses it to open up passing opportunities as well. And he isn't super finesse with his ground game, but he pounds fighters into bad positions and then he submits them. And most of his submissions are either arm triangles or rear naked chokes. When he does end up on bottom, like I said, he's hard to hold down. He has shown good submission defense and never been submitted, which is important against a fighter like Osbourne. I've seen him stack and pass on arm bars and triangles. He seems very calm, and his cardio is unrelenting. He looks like a solid prospect, but definitely still needs to prove a little bit because of the competition level that he's faced. But his opponent, Osbourne, he was in a similar boat to Bondar in his debut, had a lot of hype, was a guy that was riding a lot of wins, and had a rude awakening in his debut. He entered that fight with a high amount of confidence, and kind of had it thrown back in his face. He had to take a year off and evaluate. In that fight that he had, he got submitted really quickly by Brian Kelleher. He was a favorite in that fight. Even if you saw like the pre-fight clips where they're talking to him, he was very cocky, and it seemed like he really thought that he was going to go in there and dominate the fight. And usually when Osbourne wins, he does get guys out of there and runs through them. He has finished all of his fights but one in the first round. And he's long for the division. He's a 73-inch reach. He's good at manipulating range. And he's a southpaw, so he's a tricky look. Good athlete. He's very tough, quick. He fights long, comes forward, and he likes to play the counter game. He's good at touching with the jab, looking for that left cross. His 1-2 is fast. He has a good check hook, good straight left, check hook, straight left combination. He likes to play in the pocket where he has good eyes and he has those fast twitch muscle fibers, so he can slip and rip and get guys kind of more hesitant to throw, and then he can go forward, start to overwhelm them with his athleticism, throw flying attacks, and really starts to become dangerous when he can get comfortable. He has 3 knockouts, and he's never been finished by strikes, so definitely on the feet he'll probably have the advantage in this fight. And he's also a good submission artist. He's won 3 of his last 4 fights off his back. Grapplers are also what has given him trouble throughout his career. He was submitted twice early in 2 of his losses. He got grinded out in another loss that he had. And he will look to wrestle in certain matchups. I've seen him shoot takedowns early in fights and even get some nice takedowns. The issue is he just isn't that physical. He can struggle to hold guys down. And he really isn't good on top. And, he is a good scrambler, but fighters usually work back to their feet. And the types he can get bullied. And I've seen multiple opponents hit big slams on Osbourne. Osbourne, once he gets put on his back, is dangerous. You do have to respect his guard. He has fast hips, long legs, throws up really quick triangles, arm bars. But at the higher levels, when you start to face better grapplers, getting a guard submission is not really, a high percentage move. If Osbourne can't get the submission, he's just way too comfortable off his back. In his fight with Antonio Sanchez, he gassed out grappling heavy in the first round. He lost the fight by spending the second and third round on his back, and he did look like he improved his takedown defense a bit against Armando Villarreal on the Dana White Contender Series, but got taken down in that fight. He was taken down very easily by Brian Kelleher, got submitted in the first round there. And Osbourne, he's been submitted twice. He's, finished 7 of his 8 wins. He's only 1-1 in decisions, so if you even see his fights that go long, he doesn't really do well in those fights. Neither fighter has much experience fighting in the later rounds. I think I have to give the cardio edge to Dennis Bondar, actually. It's going to be tough to finish Dennis Bondar. In 16 pro fights, 14 amateur fights, he's never been finished. Unless Osbourne finishes Bondar, I have a hard time seeing him winning. Osbourne just struggles too much to stop the takedown. I don't see him getting Bondar out of there in round 1 unless Dennis does something stupid in the guard or brawls with Osbourne. Osbourne could have some success on the feet, but ultimately I think Dennis Bondar will be able to close that gap, get it to the ground like most of Osbourne's opponents have been able to do. From there, I just see Osbourne getting slowly worn down and not getting back up to his feet. Unless he hits that guard submission, which I think is unlikely, I think that Bondar will start to pull away with the fight. With Bondar being a finisher, I could see him getting a late finish. I don't think he's going to be as aggressive early on like Kelleher, because Bondar isn't a super aggressive submission artist like that, but I could see this even going to decision, but I'm going to say Bondar wears on Osbourne enough to get that third round submission win, so I'm going to go with Dennis Bondar here. This next matchup we got, it's going to be a short notice matchup for Youssef Zalal, but they both were set to fight, and they had full fight camps where I believe it got canceled on fight week. So both these guys have seen each other and prepared for each other one time, actually. So Youssef Zalal, you just can't seem to get enough of the octagon, man. He's fought 4 times in 2020, looking to pick it right back up, fighting on the second month of 2021. And it feels as if he's a veteran of the UFC by now, but it's funny because his fight with Choi will only be 2 days before his 1-year anniversary with the company. And Zalal, he had a good year. He finished 3-1. He did lose his last fight to Ilia Topuria, but that's nothing to hold your head about. Topuria is one of the best, prospects in that division. And when you look at Zalal, we all seen what he's kind of got by now. He's a really good mover, good counter striker, and he's switched stances, and has a long reach, so he just tries to kind of use his kicks, use the range, touch and move. He'll throw some flying knees at times. We've seen him get some nice knockouts with some flying knees, but more of a point striker. And, I've seen him get rocked with punches, but I've never seen him get dropped, and he's a hard guy to hit. I think against Choi on the feet, if he gets pressured, then I believe that, in boxing range, he could have a little bit of issues with Choi. But Choi isn't a guy that really likes to box either. He's another guy that is long, likes to play the range game himself and kind of look for the 2 and, move around. So I think it's going to be a good matchup for Zalal. And Zalal, he can mix it up. I think he's the clearly superior wrestler in this fight. He has good singles, good doubles. In his last fight, he kind of got dominated in the grappling, but this fight, he won't have to worry about that, and he did show good takedown or good submission defense in that fight. I feel like in this fight, if he could take down Choi, he's gonna have, the ability to control him on the ground, and he will look for rear naked chokes, guillotines. He isn't a super, elite submission guy, but he can get you in a submission if he gets a good spot. He has 5 submission victories, really good cardio. He showed that against Topuria. He was able to win the 3rd round of that fight. And for Seung Choi, he did win his last fight in the UFC. It was his first UFC win. He dominated Stamann, who I feel like is one of the lower level guys in the division. But he is 6 feet tall. He was supposed to fight Gavin Tucker and Overeem in this fight. So he's had a training camp to fight 2 really good guys. Hasn't come to fruition. And, I guess he just still wants to fight. So he's fighting Zalal here. And he's a guy that, he pressures forward. He has good fakes and feints. He always has that cross loaded, ready to throw. Good straight right left hook combination. And he likes to counter with the left hook in the pocket. He has really fast hands. I believe he has the power advantage in this fight. He definitely, was hurting Stamann with shots. Really good round kicks to the body, to the head, front kicks up the middle. But he's very hittable. He doesn't use a lot of head movement. He overextends on his straight right hand. And he is very durable. But, man, he got hit a lot. He gets hit a lot in a lot of his fights. And, he has been knocked out 1 time before. He does have 5 knockouts. And he's not a very good grappler, though. He's lost both of his fights due to being out-grappled. His last fight with Stamann, he was able to, win a clinch battle. He landed some heavy elbows and knees. And he was able to control Mokhtarian from half guard, dropped him in round 2. In the 3rd round, he was able to, get on top even and rode out half guard until the final bell. But, he has a long karate stance. And Gavin Tucker and Overeem were able to, take advantage of that, whereas Tucker was able to hit single legs. Mavsar was able to get in the clinch, push him against the cage. And he did show some improvements with his takedown defense, but it's still an issue in my opinion. He did land some big elbows and, had some scrambles and was competitive in the grappling against Gavin Tucker. And I will say, I feel like against Zalal, he could, maybe be able to deny some early takedowns, but I do see him getting taken down. And in that fight with Gavin Tucker, he gave his back, got submitted. This is a good fight, good matchup. On the feet, I see it being competitive. I see Choi struggling with the speed, the elusiveness, the kicks of Zalal. Particularly, I think the low kicks are going to really give Choi trouble. But I think Zalal could struggle with the length, the forward pressure, and the power that Choi brings. In the clinch, whoever is better is going to have a big advantage. If Choi can do damage and exit the clinch, he's going to be a live underdog. But as far as the grappling goes, I do think Zalal is superior there. He needs to use his striking and wrestling, or striking to open up his wrestling. And if he can hit some single legs, it will stymie the forward pressure of Choi. I think Zalal will have the better cardio. It's going to be close, but I see Zalal being able to edge at least 2 of the 3 rounds, if not all 3. Win a decision. I don't see him finishing Choi, but I got Youssef Zalal on this one. And up next here we got Molly McCann. She's going to be trying to bounce back after she had her 3-fight winning streak halted by Taila Santos in her last bout. She wasn't really all that competitive, and Taila Santos ran away with decision. As a striker, McCann, that's kind of her game. And she kind of has a couple things that she really looks for. She has, a good left hook, and she has that big overhand right. That's kind of her game. She looks for that lead left hook all the time. She's always trying to land that big overhand right. And I will say, in her fight against Taila Santos, she was landing some nice stutter step straight and overhand rights, and she was switching stances. She was landing the left hook from southpaw. And she's willing to throw down and brawl in the pocket, but she can get a little bit sloppy, and she just isn't really a good kicker. She does welcome a slugfest. She's super tough, but she does tend to run into punches, and she does have a really good chin, but Taila Santos did hurt her a little bit with some front kicks to the body. And, she's durable, though. She's never been finished by strikes. I will say, she's not really a power hitter. I don't think she's going to be able to take out a girl like Procopio, but she's also shown some evolution in her grappling. You've seen her go from getting submitted really quickly against Jillian Robertson to being able to dominate a girl like Diana Belbita with, the head and arm position and takedowns in the clinch, and she was doing well in the scramble. She even almost finished Belbita from the back mount. So she's improving, but we did see, once again that she isn't the best grappler. She got ragdolled by Taila Santos, really got dominated in the clinch, and on top, McCann did well to survive, or on bottom, but, she really kind of got beat up, and that was it. And she hasn't been submitted except for a fight with Jillian Robertson, so she does have pretty good submission defense. She has pretty good cardio. She does slow down in that 3rd round, but she does have a good work rate the other 2 rounds, and I feel like on the feet, she is probably going to be the better overall striker in this one. But she's going to be taking on Lara Procopio, who kind of had a rough start to her UFC career because not only did she lose her debut, but she also got popped by USADA, and she hasn't fought since August of 2019. But in that fight, she did drop a competitive decision. It was a split decision against Karol Rosa, and that fight was at 135 pounds. Now she's going to be dropping down to 125, and at only 25 years old, she could come in here and look a lot better with the layoff, but this is going to be her first fight in the United States. Her last fight was in China. It was her first fight outside of Brazil, and she did lose that fight. But she looked good in her fight with Rosa. Her boxing is pretty decent. She has okay head movement and counters and really good jabs. She throws a ton of low kicks. She's good at slipping and ripping with the straight right. And she has a good counter lead hook. She'll throw the cross, the left hook combination. And she has a okay overhand right. She has quick hands. She'll go to the body. She threw a lot of volume, landed a lot of strikes in her fight with Karol Rosa. And, she showed she can last in a dogfight for sure. She has cardio. She's calm in the pocket. I mean, she can eat big shots, stay composed, return with her own punches. And due to that, Karol Rosa was able to land a lot of straight shots down the middle as Procopio entered. But Procopio was able to return and land shots of her own as well. But Procopio did get rocked a little bit at one point in the first round. In the third round, she did get dropped herself. And she doesn't seem like she has the most power in her hands. So that is an issue for her as well. But she is dropping down to 125. So that maybe will actually, help her in terms of that. But she is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And when she get into the match, she has a really good arm bar. She has decent level changes. But she just wasn't very physical at 135. And she did shoot some really bad double legs in her fight with Rosa. In the clinch, she will look for some trips. And I'm curious to see how her physique and kind of just her body looks at 125 if she's a lot bigger than McCann. Because that could potentially help her out here. But, I haven't really seen a lot of Procopio on top. But more I've seen her on her back. And she's an active guard. She throws up arm bars. She has good sweeps. And I do feel like she... if she can get on top, she could pose some issues for Molly McCann potentially. And you did see in her fight with Karol Rosa, she did get tired in that third round, and she started to get real desperate to get it to the ground, started to shoot ugly takedowns. And, Procopio is super tough, though. I think she'll probably be in better shape at 125. But, man, I mean, this is a good one. Lara Procopio, she's going to have a huge reach advantage. She, has decent boxing. She has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, quick hands. She needs to use the low kicks. I think these girls are going to go to war, though. Both these girls like the pocket fight, pick and pull. And Procopio is going to have to keep coming because early on, I think that Molly's going to be faster with the footwork. I think she's going to be able to land, get in, get out. And obviously, Procopio will want to get this to the ground. If she can, I think she's going to have a chance to win the fight. I do want to see what she looks like at weigh-ins at 125, like I said. I do think Procopio is live. She's younger. She has a good chin. She has good cardio. She might have the power edge if she's coming down from weight. She has the grappling edge, big reach advantage. The issue is Molly will be landing more early on. I think that she's going to be able to have the speed and footwork advantage. And if she can get ahead on the numbers in the first two rounds, she might be able to just cruise to that decision. I'm going to go with Molly Meatball by split decision. So I think it's going to be a close fight, but I'm going to go with Meatball McCann. And up next here we got Devonte Smith versus Justin Jaynes. And man, if you like knockouts, you'll probably like this fight right here because we got two knockout artists going at it. Two actually first round knockout artists. And this fight, I mean, Justin Jaynes coming in here 5 days notice. I do wonder if he would have even gotten a fight if he, or another fight with the UFC if he didn't take this fight so quickly. But we all saw his last fight against Gabriel Benitez. He went in there, got really butchered pretty badly, dominated, finished in the first round with a body shot. Or in the second round, I'm not 100% sure. It was in the first or second round. He got finished pretty brutally with a knee. And, you got King Cage Devonte Smith, who he hasn't fought in a long time. It's been, I believe, over a year, and he is coming off a knockout loss. He also is coming off a ruptured Achilles, which is a really bad injury, especially for a guy that's really relies on his athleticism like King Cage. But when you look at this fight, I mean, Devonte Smith, I believe, had a lot harder matchup in Alex Leco da Silva. With this fight, he's going to have a huge reach advantage, huge speed advantage, huge footwork and movement advantage. And, I think there's going to be a first-shot knockout either way. If Devonte Smith comes in there real sloppy and Justin Jaynes catches him, or Justin Jaynes blitzes him early because Smith is coming off the injury, maybe he's a little bit slow, then he could catch him with the big overhand right, knock him out. But if he doesn't, I think that Devonte Smith, with that one-punch power, with that fast twitch ability, with that movement, with the pull counters, with the 1-2, with the straight right hand, is probably going to be able to knock him out and probably knock him out pretty brutally. So that's the side that I'm going to be going on. I'm going to be going on the side of, the guy that didn't get brutally finished quite recently, the guy that's not taking the fight on short notice, and the one that I believe is the bigger guy, has a big reach advantage, big speed advantage. I think he even might have the power advantage. So I don't think that Justin Jaynes is going to be able to take him down over 3 rounds. If he does take him down early, I think Smith is going to be able to knock him out late because Jaynes will get tired. So I think that Jaynes is going to go for broke first round, and I think that he's actually going to be the one that gets knocked out, though. So I'm going to go with Devonte King Cage Smith to bounce back here from that loss to Kama Worthy, get a first round knockout. In this next one, it's 2 girls that are trying to make their claim as one of the best prospects at 135, where we have Karol Rosa, who started her career really well. She's 26, she's 2-0. She's getting a shot at now another kind of young upstart here. She was expected to face Nico Montano, who's a former UFC champion. It would have been a big name, big step up, but unfortunately Montano is not medically cleared. So now she can be taking on Joselyne Edwards, who, man, you got to commend Joselyne Edwards, man. She's a G. She must like this fight with no notice thing. The girl flew to Abu Dhabi on 3 days' notice, cut, made weight, beat up a chick, and now she's fighting again. Just her second fight in 21 days in the UFC. So she's a beast for sure. And if she can win these 2 UFC fights in 3 weeks, that'll be pretty amazing for Edwards. But she's definitely capable for sure. We saw Edwards against Yanan Wu. She showed a lot of good skills. She's going to be the bigger fighter. She has a 3-inch height and reach advantage, and she has 6 first-round finishes, 3 in less than 1 minute. So she's a killer, and she's long, fast, she's athletic. She has that good jab, good 1-2. Her straight right hand is money. It's powerful. I think she's going to land it clean early, often against Rosa, and she likes to throw the straight right left hook combination. She's a little bit sloppy, but she throws long combos. She's very aggressive. She'll throw good kicks. And she has a hands-down style, though, so she can get clipped. Yanan Wu landed a lot of clean punches on her chin. I've seen Trisha Serrell drop her with the high kicks. So Edwards, she does kind of leave herself vulnerable a little bit. Her wrestling is her weak point, but she has good jiu-jitsu skills. And against Rosa, it's going to be interesting to see who's better on the mat, because Rosa is a black belt, but we've seen her a couple times in certain fights struggle, get reversed, get out-grappled, and get submitted. And we saw Edwards against Yanan Wu and Sarah Alpar. She had some really good scrambles. She attacked really good arm bars. She took the back. She was able to do really well and hit some really nice sweeps. So if this fight goes to the ground, it could be interesting, and it could be a lot of good exchanges there. But Rosa, she's not as explosive and wild and dynamic as a girl like Edwards is athletic, but she's more meat and potatoes. She's flat-footed. She works behind the jab, the low kicks. She throws the jab really stiff, and she has a nice one too. Good pull counter, straight right hand, good check left hook, and she throws a left hook straight right hand really well. I feel like her boxing is going to be a lot better than Joselyne Edwards. I think once she starts to land her shots over time, if she can eat the strikes of Edwards early, she might start to wear her down. And Rosa, she has 4 knockouts. She doesn't really have big power, but she did get a knockdown in her last fight, and she's never been finished by strikes. So she's very durable, and that's something that's going to help her in this fight. And she will mix it up. In her last fight, you did see her almost get the finish on the ground. She has good control. She likes to sit in half guard, use her ground and pound, and she has a couple of submission victories, but isn't a really great submission artist. Overall, I feel like if she takes her down and can control her, then she's going to be able to win the fight pretty easily. But Edwards does have the potential to sweep, get on top, threaten submission. So the grappling could be interesting. And Edwards is the more dynamic, flashy fighter. I think she has the better submission grappling as well. She's going to be the more likely girl to catch a submission. But, Edwards, I think Rosa is going to be able to land the higher volume, land a lot of punches. I think that Rosa is going to be the stronger physical girl, be able to control in the clinch. If Edwards can have a first-round finish or the bigger moments, she may be able to win the fight, but I think that Rosa will show her experience and win over a girl who's fighting for the second time on 3 weeks here. I think she's going to be able to just outwork her, land a lot of clean punches, start to outbox her, wear her down, start to walk her down, control her in the clinch, and win the last 2 rounds. So I'm going to go with Karol Rosa here. And up next here we got Martin Day taking on Timur Valiev. This is a short notice fight. Martin Day is taking this fight on short notice, and I'm pretty sure that if he didn't take this fight, he probably wouldn't have got another UFC fight. So Timur Valiev, he had an unfortunate debut where he was a big favorite. He looked like he was going to get a first round finish. He was really battering his opponent against the cage, but his opponent was able to survive. And then in the second round, Timur was very tired and he finished him off. So really good win there by Trevin Jones over Timur Valiev. Martin Day in his last fight, he got dropped and submitted by Anderson Dos Santos. His fight previous to that was a knockout loss at the hands of Davy Grant. So he hasn't really been on a good run of late. And when you look at the way Martin Day and Timur Valiev fight on the feet, they're kind of similar where they're both guys that like to play the range game, be kind of flashy with spins, with a lot of kicks. I think Valiev has the power advantage, but Day is going to have a big reach advantage. So on the feet, potentially Day could maybe be able to keep him at bay for a little bit and touch him up. But we've seen that Martin Day's chin is a little bit suspect these days, which Timur Valiev probably is going to be able to get in. And if he lands clean, you'll probably be able to knock him out. But I think that the easier path to victory for Timur Valiev is just to take him down. I think he's going to have a huge wrestling advantage. I think he's going to be able to take him down at will. And then once he gets on top of Martin Day, Martin Day has shown some decent defensive grappling against, some guys in the UFC. But I don't know if he's going to be able to, last against that grind of Timur Valiev and just the ability of him to advance position and work his ground and pound. I feel like Valiev could get him out of there. It could be a decision win for Valiev, but don't really see a lot of passive victory for Martin Day outside of a flash TKO, flash knockout. He doesn't really have a lot of power. He isn't a guy that's going to catch a submission off his back, most likely. I don't think he's going to be able to keep it on the feet or win a striking battle over 3 rounds. So definitely feel like Valiev should get the win here, and I feel like, he should be a pretty decent-sized favorite. And up next, we got Mike Rodriguez taking on Danilo Marques. And this is a fun fight here. We got Mike Rodriguez. He's going to be looking to turn the page after a wild fight with Ed Herman. It's a loss on Rodriguez's record, but arguably the robbery of the year for the UFC in 2020. The fight was all but won for Rodriguez after he dropped Ed Herman with that knee to the body, had him turtled up. But, man, unfortunately for Mike, the ref thought it was a low blow and gave Ed Herman 5 rounds to recover. And then, man, credit to Herman, though. He did come back, and he didn't win by decision. He went in there and submitted Rodriguez in the 3rd round after taking all that damage. So props to him, but Mike Rodriguez should have got that win. He deserved it. He finished the guy. So in my book, that was a win for Mike Rodriguez. And, he's for 205, 32 years old. He's not necessarily a young guy, but he's not that experienced in MMA, and it looks like he is improving. He's, a kickboxer on the feet. He's a southpaw, really long, rangy. And, it's going to be interesting in this fight. He's going to be fighting a guy that's taller than him, but he still is going to have a significant 5.5-inch reach advantage. And he uses his length well. He throws a lot of front kicks up the middle, long punches. He has, real good high kicks. And, he's going to be the way better striker, way better. He's going to be faster, throws with vicious intent, a lot, more power than his opponent, way more volume, a lot more up-down, throws to the body, throws to the head. In his fight with Ed Herman, he showed that, the fight against Procopio wasn't a joke, man. It wasn't a fluke. He went out there and knocked out Procopio with that Muay Thai elbow, but then you saw in the clinch against Ed Herman, he was dominating him in the clinch with big knees, with big elbows. And against a guy like Danilo Marques, he is going to have to, fend off the grappling, which has been his problem throughout his career. He has been able to not stop the takedowns. He's gotten taken down. He's gotten submitted in a couple fights, and he's going to have to prove that he could stop that here. But his opponent, Danilo Marques, he got the job done in his UFC debut. He was an underdog to Kape Brigimov. He hadn't fought in over 2 years, and none of that mattered. It wasn't the most impressive performance, but got the unanimous decision win. He's a big underdog here against Mike Rodriguez, and 35 years old. He's kind of already nearing the end of his prime. And on the feet, I mean, he tries to use the link to touch fighters from the outside. But, man, usually wastes no time trying to get the fight to the mat. He'll sometimes even shoot without throwing a strike. On the feet, he throws a lot of jabs, body jabs, 1-2s, front kicks, round kicks, but slow plotting and doesn't bring his hands back quickly. He's definitely at a huge disadvantage at range in this fight. Very vulnerable. He has been knocked out before. And, I mean, he's going to have to get it to the ground here. He's a pure grappler. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He trains at the Damian Mike Academy. He's always looking to bring the fight to the ground. He has solid level changes. He shoots in on singles, doubles, drives guys to the cage. And against the cage, he has good clinch control. He'll look for trips. His wrestling isn't great overall, but he was able to get Coutus down 4 times. And he's a bit of an odd look. He's 6'6", but he has decent movement. And you know he's just waiting to bring you to the ground. You don't see many guys like Marques level chain for singles and doubles either. And Marques is good at elevating the single leg, circling to the back. He was able to take the back of a Brighamov a couple times. He has a couple rear naked choke wins, but oddly enough, even with his length, he doesn't really have great back control. Overall, he isn't the most dangerous fighter, but he has good cardio, gets guys tired, and then he can take them out and finish 4 of his 5 wins by submission. Or he's finished 4 wins by submission, 8 of his 10 wins overall. But in this fight, I mean, I don't think that Marques, unless he can get Mike Rodriguez down early and get him tired, is going to be physical enough to take him down in the clinch. I think that Marques is going to have a lot of trouble at range. If he doesn't get knocked out early, I think that Mike Rodriguez is going to be able to knock him out in the clinch. So I'm going to go with Mike Rodriguez by first round knockout, but it's one of those fights where it's like the Khalil Roundtree fight, where if this guy wins the 3rd round and you're screaming at your TV for Rodriguez to get up off his back, I mean, could happen, but I'm going to go with slow Mike by first round knockout. Talk about screaming at your TV. I mean, fuck, man. We got Clay Guida taking on Michael Johnson. Crazy fight right here. 2 OGs. I mean, 2 guys that are, you know, kind of legends of the game, but it's really hard to pick a fight for either of these guys. It's hard to pick them as the winners, so when you match them up together, man, I mean, it's a tough decision, right? But Clay Guida, 39 years old. It's going to be a striker versus grappler matchup, man. I mean, Clay Guida is a wrestler. On the feet, I mean, I think his striking is pretty terrible. I mean, jumps around, has horrible boxing, just throws real looping, crazy, wild shots, and no power. He just isn't a great striker, man. Isn't good defensively. When guys pressure him and get stuff his takedowns, they can really beat him up pretty badly. But I mean, he has that one skill. He could take you down. He has really good grappling. He can get you in the clinch. We saw even against Bobby Green. He was taking him down, man. He was taking Bobby Green's back. He was able to implement a game plan that kept him in the fight, made the fight close, and didn't get him overwhelmed or finished, which against Michael Johnson, that's what he's going to need to do again. I mean, Michael Johnson obviously is way faster. He has that southpaw look. He's going to have the reach advantage, the height advantage, the youth advantage, the speed advantage, the power advantage. I mean, every advantage you could think of on the feet, Michael Johnson's going to have it. But man, I mean, Michael Johnson, he's always had trouble with grapplers. He hasn't faced a ton of them throughout his UFC career, but he's lost to basically all of them. Jonathan Brookings, Miles Jury, Stevie Ray, Thiago Moises, Darren Elkins, Habib, Reza Madadi, Paul Sass. All these guys were able to go in there and either grind out Michael Johnson, win a decision, or submit him. So, I mean, is he going to go in here and stop the takedowns for 3 rounds against Clay Guida? I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it's like Michael Johnson isn't a guy that really gets a ton of knockouts. He has some really notable knockouts, like obviously his knockout over Dustin Poirier, which is his last win at this weight class. But, you know, Clay Guida, he's only been finished by strikes 2 times. He's super durable. He pushes the pace. He's able to get in your face, eat the shots, and take you down. And against Michael Johnson, if Michael Johnson can't knock him out, or he can't use that movement, which I think he's getting a little bit slower as well himself, I think Clay's going to be able to take him down. And from there, I don't think Michael Johnson's going to get up. I mean, both these guys have a lot of submission losses, but I don't think Clay has to worry about getting submitted by Michael Johnson. So, I mean, to me, I'm going to go with Clay Guida in this one. I'm going to say Clay Guida goes in there, maybe loses the first round, or maybe doesn't. Maybe he wins all 3 rounds. But I'm going to go with Clay Guida to go in there, use his wrestling, and at least take 2 of the 3 rounds, win a decision. So I got Clay Guida in this one, and not super confident, but I just feel like if Johnson can't get him out of there, he's probably not going to be able to stop that forward pressure. Guida's going to start getting him down with that pace, the wrestling, and probably win the fight. So I'm going to go with Clay Guida. Man, here we go. To open the main card, you got a banger right here. This is a fight that I think could be a main event on a fight night. And they got it as an opener for the main card. But can't complain. We got Carlos Diego Ferreira taking on Beneil Dariush in a rematch. First time these guys fought, it was all the way back in 2014. And we had Beneil Dariush go in there and just... it was a close fight, but he was able to control the striking and get takedowns when he needed them and win a 30-27 real, easy dominant decision for Beneil Dariush. Or I'm not going to say dominant, but it was competitive, but Dariush was clearly able to win every round and just was able to kind of just edge it out. But since then, man, that was Carlos Diego's first loss of his career. He's only lost 1 time, and yet that was 5 years ago as well against Dustin Poirier. He got knocked out. I think it was the fight right after the Beneil fight. So he lost 2 in a row, then won 6 in a row. Hasn't lost since then, since like 2015. So he has a chance here to defeat the first guy that gave him a loss in his career. He's coming off that huge win over Anthony Pettis too, so has a lot of momentum, but he hasn't fought in quite some time. He is 36 years old, so you have to wonder when Father Time is going to catch up to him. But right now, Carlos Diego Ferreira, both these guys, Beneil Dariush too, they've kind of mastered the art of not giving a fuck, man. Carlos Diego Ferreira just walks these guys down, no freaking care in the world. He's right in these guys' faces, throwing the 1-2, the 1-1-2, real heavy low kicks, inside, outside, front kicks, round kicks to the body, and just breaks these guys with this forward pressure. We've seen him do it to Rustam Khabilov, to Marbek Taisimov. Then we saw him in against Anthony Pettis. He was just able to get in there, close that distance, get him against the cage, hit the takedowns, took his back, became the first man to submit Anthony Pettis. Really impressive, dominant performance in that one as well. But, Carlos Diego, you know what you're going to get out of the guy. He's hard-nosed, comes forward, throws his 1-2, throws the low kicks, throws the body kicks. When he gets you against the cage, he will flurry with some longer combinations, try to, time your exit with the high kick, with the spinning kick. But Beneil Dariush is the much more dynamic guy. He's the faster guy. He's the more powerful guy. On the feet, the thing that Carlos Diego has over Beneil Dariush is he could take a fucking punch, man. This dude has elite level durability and elite level cardio. So he's going to have to early on, really take some heaters from Beneil. Because Beneil Dariush, man, I feel like he's underrated in the power discussion in the 55 division. He has some of the most power in the division, real talk. If you look at some of this dude's knockouts, man. But so, CDF, first of all, is going to have to prove that he can eat the shots of Beneil Dariush and, have the cojones to walk him down like that. But also, most of these guys that Carlos Diego fights, almost all of them, they don't want to take him down or they can't scramble with him. We saw Marbek Taisimov. He doesn't want to go to the ground with Beneil Dariush, with Diego Ferreira, excuse me. You see OAM, he was able to dominate him in the scrambles. Jared Gordon, he took him down, dominated him. Kyle Nelson actually hurt him and he took him out in the second round, but Rustam couldn't scramble with him. Pettis, he dominated on the ground. If you watch the fight when he fought Beneil Dariush, a huge thing about the fight was Beneil was the bigger, more physical guy. He could get him in the clinch, he could take him down, and he was able to control him. He wasn't as threatened or as scared as the jiu-jitsu, and he didn't get swept and stuff like that. So Diego is going to have to be able to figure that out. He's going to have to be able to stop the physicality advantage that Beneil Dariush has by either creating a lot of scrambles or the forward pressure and negating the entries that Beneil Dariush has to get into the grappling. But with Beneil Dariush, we've seen him recently get some of the best knockouts in the sport. In 2020, he was an underrated fighter, man. He went on there, got 2 nasty knockouts. It was against 2 guys that aren't necessarily, in my opinion, on Carlos Diego Ferreira's level, but the knockouts were sick and really nice. And Dariush, he's a southpaw, really heavy left kick, really heavy punches, throws with wild, reckless abandon, spinning attacks, real good, decent combinations, Muay Thai from King's MMA, and, he's the thing about this fight. I mean, we got Beneil Dariush, he's the underdog again, and he was the underdog when they first fought the first time, a bigger underdog. I believe he was like a plus 180. Now you can get him at like plus 105. He's 6-1 as an underdog in the UFC, and I mean, this is a gunfight. I mean, it's a fight, man, and I think Beneil's the bigger, faster gun, man. I mean, Beneil, he's more athletic in my opinion. He's the younger guy. It's just going to be coming down to the durability and the cardio of Beneil Dariush. And if Carlos Diego Ferreira goes in there and wants to brawl in the pocket with Beneil Dariush, I mean, Benny's not one of these guys that's going to back up and just start to wither away like, the Tysomovs and the Kabelovs. He's going to stay in the pocket and start to wing bombs. And we're going to see who's going to drop first, who has more durability. And, I mean, I feel like Beneil Dariush, his chin issues is a little bit, overspoken by some people. I don't think he really has that bad of a chin. He's been knocked out a couple times, but, I mean, he goes for it and he gets hit clean. He could eat him. So I think that he definitely has good durability. And Carlos Diego Ferreira isn't a knockout puncher, so I think he's going to be able to eat the shots of Ferreira, no problem. And, so I'm going to go with Dariush, man. I feel like Dariush is just going to be able to, if they exchange, knock him out or be able to just land the bigger shots, hurt Ferreira, get him on the back foot. And I think that if the pressure becomes too much, I think that Dariush is going to be able to level change, get it in the clinch, hit some takedowns, get some control time like he did in the first fight. So I got Beneil Dariush, man. I think that he's an underrated guy. I think that he's going to go in there and prove to a lot of people that he's one of the best guys in the division. So I'm going to go with Beneil Dariush here. This next one, we got Cody Stamann, and he's going to be welcoming the newcomer Askar to the UFC. Stamann, he's been up and down recently after winning 10 consecutive fights. He hasn't won 2 in a row in nearly 3 years, but he's proven himself to be one of the best fighters in the division. He's been in there with elite fighters. He's been in, there with guys like Aljamain Sterling, Jimmy Rivera, and, he's fallen just short. But he was expecting to face a much different matchup. He was expected to face a long southpaw striker in Andre Ewell. Now he's going to be facing an orthodox wrestler in Askar. But Cody Stamann, I mean, on the feet, he is going to have the advantage here. He has good forward pressure kicks, boxing, and kind of has that boxer-wrestler style, obviously. He's a really elite wrestler as well. But his opponent, Askar, I mean, he's getting a big opportunity here. He's taking on a name opponent. With the win, I mean, he could be an immediate contender in the UFC, and he's 11-1. He is coming off a win in the main event of an LFA fight, and he's a grinder. His striking is still very green. I mean, he's long for the division. He has a good frame, 5-inch reach advantage, but I mean, as a striker, he's not very good. He's aggressive. He pressures hard. He will get right in opponents' faces, look for the jab, look for the lead hook. He'll throw some 1-2s. He has a good uppercut. He'll throw some hard calf kicks, but I mean, he'll wing shots. He just isn't very technical. He's very stiff. He stands tall. He's very vulnerable to counter shots, and he was knocked out in his one loss in 39 seconds. But he's a great grappler. He uses his forward pressure to back fetish to the cage. He works his way into the clinch or shoots in on the legs pretty well, and he's very strong. He has good chain wrestling. When he can get it to the ground, he's a good back taker. He has good control. He likes to grapevine the legs, works his way into mount, good ground and pound. And once he takes the back, he has a good body triangle. Isn't really a submission guy. He really relies more on ground and pound. 4 TKOs, and most of that is via ground and pound. He has 1 rear naked choke victory. I haven't seen anyone take down Askar, but he did lose some scrambles, spent some time on his back in his most recent fight against Kevin Worth. He looked like a good scrambler. He looked like he was hard to hold down. His cardio is top notch, but this is a huge step up for Askar. And Cody's an elite wrestler. He'll be able to win the striking exchanges. I think he could scramble with Askar too, and probably out-grapple him. I mean, both these guys have great cardio. Stamann just has that way higher level experience, and I feel like this is going to be a decision win for Stamann. Good learning lesson for Askar. I think Askar could potentially be a factor in the UFC, but I don't think he's going to be able to beat a guy like Cody Stamann. So I'm going to go with Cody Stamann via decision. Man, another amazing fight here we got up next with Alexander Pantoja taking on Manel Kape. Both these guys, man, are elite level guys. Manel Kape, he's going to be making his UFC debut after, a really great career in Japan and Rizin. He defeated some elite fighters. He's most recently coming off a knockout victory over Kai Asakara, who Askar is an amazing striker in his own right, so that's a very big win right there. The UFC will be a lot different from Manel Kape. I mean, Kape will be fighting in the USA for the first time. He is training at AKA, so that is going to be helpful for him. He's been there for quite a while, so I don't think he's going to have to adjust too much. In Rizin, he's been fighting in a ring, though, and he's even worn shoes in a lot of fights. Now he's in a cage. A lot of things are different, but like I said, he's moved over to AKA. He's been training there for a little while, and the wrestling has been something that has actually caused him a lot of issues in his fighting. So now that he's at AKA with the really beast wrestlers like Khabib, like Islam Makhachev, like Daniel Cormier, like all those guys they have at the high school program over there at Gilroy, he hopefully has been getting working with all those guys. And there's a reason my Manel Kape has hype, though, man. He's a violent finisher. He's finished 14 of his 15 wins, 9 of those being knockouts. And he has some of the best striking in the division. He's blazing fast, really good counter striking, super aggressive with his forward pressure. He holds his hands low and he likes to draw out shots, return with straights, with hooks. He has really nasty pull counters. His speed and his slipping ability is top notch. He'll come forward with really nice blitz attacks. He'll use his cross to get inside, laying big knees, big punches to the body. Throws big power overhands. He switches stances. He'll switch stances mid-combination, land shots. And he has one-punch knockout power. Very nice kicks. He's super brash, confident. He'll talk to opponents before and during the fight. Try to get them to get sloppy so he can capitalize. And he has amazing cardio. He puts a crazy pace on guys. He's hard to hit, but when he does get clipped, he shows really good toughness. He recovers very quickly. I will say, Kape didn't look to check low kicks in any of the fights that I saw, which could be an issue. And he also got tagged at times when leaping in with the left hook. But he's never been finished by strikes. He's proven to be very durable. And obviously he has that one-punch knockout power. Offensively, Kape isn't a bad grappler. He's strong. He has good level changes. But on top, he doesn't have the best control. He does unload with shots, try to do damage, but he doesn't really wrestle too often. He really only mixes it up if he's losing the striking. His defensive grappling is what has failed him in some of his recent losses. He's improved his takedown defense and he has good scrambling ability, but he jumps on guillotine. Sometimes he could show greediness in scrambles. He was rocked, taken down by Kyoji Horiguchi and submitted. And in Kape's fight with the former UFC fighter Oka Sasaki, he got taken down with single legs, controlled on the mat, lost the decision. He allowed Sasaki to get in a dominant position and almost was submitted a couple times. Against a black belt at the level of Alexander Pantoja, if this fight hits the mat, Kape's going to be in trouble. I feel like he will get submitted. Kape has 5 submissions of his own, but I doubt that he's going to get a submission here. I mean, it'd be extremely unlikely. He's only 1-2 when fights go to decision, which is noteworthy because neither of these guys have ever been finished by strikes, and Pantoja's never been finished at all. But what you have in Pantoja is a guy that's a super aggressive striker in his own right. He has the good jab, good 1-2, and he throws a lot of nasty low kicks, which in this fight, I feel like those low kicks could pay big dividends for Pantoja if Kape doesn't check them. But, you know, Pantoja, I mean, you see him in fights, he gets very emotional, he gets wild, he's a brawler, and he's never been finished, but I mean, the guy's been fighting since 2007, man. He's been in there, he's been doing it, he's been fighting the best guys, and you're starting to see, in my opinion, a little bit of that regression in his chin. I mean, look at his recent fights. If you watch his fight with Davis and Figueiredo, I mean, those guys are taking bombs. He's getting dropped. He got hurt multiple occasions. You watch his fight with Matt Schnell, the follow-up fight, a guy in Matt Schnell who's not really known as a power puncher. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of knockouts. He doesn't really hurt guys on the feet. He hurt Pantoja very badly, almost had him out of there. And then Pantoja did get that vicious freaking faceplant knockout, but those are just the fights Pantoja likes to have. Even if you watch his last fight with Askarov, a guy that's a grappler, a guy that doesn't really known for striking, he was hurting Pantoja on the feet, rocking him, visibly wobbling him. So if you have those type of guys, the Matt Schnells, the guys like Askarov hurting Pantoja with punches, if Kape lands clean, I do think he has big potential to hurt Pantoja and knock him out. So on the feet, I mean, I feel like Kape is better. Besides the low kicks of Pantoja, I think that Kape is going to be the faster guy, the more explosive guy, the better counter striker, and the better boxer. So I think that obviously Pantoja is going to be trying to get it to the ground, but the thing is Pantoja isn't a super active wrestler in a lot of his fights. And when he gets hit, he likes to go to war. He likes to make it really fun action fights. And I feel like if Kape's talking to him at the weigh-ins, talking to him before the fight, Pantoja can get into that, who has the bigger balls competition. And if that happens, I think Kape's going to knock him out. So I'm actually going to go with Manel Kape by first round knockout in this fight. I think that both guys obviously can win. Both guys can get the finish. So it's a really volatile, fun fight. But I'm going to go with Manel Kape. And man, I mean, the UFC gives us those two fights. Manel Kape versus Pantoja, Beneil versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. And then they give us this fight right after it. So, okay, I mean, don't know how this fight's higher up on the card than those two. But we got Macy Chiesa taking on Marion Renault. And for Macy Chiesa, I mean, she's getting her chance to crack the rankings here after a 4-1 start to her UFC career. She's looked good in certain spots, not so good in others, and her first UFC performances were great. I mean, she finished all three opponents, didn't take too much damage, but in her fight with Lena Landsberg, I mean, that was not a good performance, and even in her fight with Shayna Young, I feel like she didn't really look great in that fight, but Macy Chiesa is not only going to be 14 years younger, but significantly bigger in this fight. She's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. Her opponent, Marion Renault, she's 43 years old. It's amazing that Renault's still competing at this level. Eventually, all things do have to come to an end, though, and Marion has lost 3 consecutive fights. She hasn't really had the performance yet, though, that made you say, like, oh, she fell off, but she's just dropped decisions. They've been competitive, but, I mean, it's hard to see her going on a run or doing anything like that at this point in her career. Macy Chiesa has not really been super impressive to me throughout her UFC run. I mean, her first fight where she finished Pannie Kianzad at 145 pounds was her best performance. She was able to run through Gina Mazzani, but against Sarah Moras, she dropped the first round. She lost the decision to Lena Landsberg. Her last fight, she fought a UFC debutant on short notice and Shayna Young, and Shayna Young probably won the striking, but she just threw too many naked kicks, got taken down, and when Chiesa got on top, she was able to really dominate and almost finish Shayna Young in the third round. But Marion Renault is a fighter who's much better than those girls. She's obviously been in there with the much better competition. On the feet, Renault's going to have the advantage. She's a solid boxer, good hands, good pop herself. Even though I see Chiesa having the power edge, at range, Renault should be faster, sharper. She definitely needs to control the distance, not allow Macy to use her physicality and maul her against the cage. If Chiesa could put her on the fence, she's likely to be able to land knees, just slow down the pace of the fight. I think Chiesa could get some late round takedowns to seal rounds also. I wouldn't advise her to get takedowns with too much time left in the round, just because I think Renault definitely is the better ground game in BJJ. Marion Renault, to me, is the better fighter. She has better striking, better jiu-jitsu. It's just one of those cases to me where she's the smaller athlete in there. She's the less athletic girl, and Macy's the stronger girl in the clinch. Jason at least lets hard strikes go, too, in the clinch, but that's where she needs to get the fight, where Marion is better in the free flow. I think Jason is probably going to be able to make it boring, use her size and maul, Marion against the cage. Obviously, Marion is 43 years old, so if Chiesa can land some hard body shots, I could definitely see Marion slowing down. You can never count Marion out too hard. She does have 4 UFC finishes, but I'm going to go with Chiesa and probably by decision. As far as the bet goes, I have to pass here. It's crazy to say this, but Renault, I think, is improving her wrestling even at her age, and if she knows after her last 2 fights that she got dominated in the clinch, she could negate that or get out of the clinch here, she probably is going to win the fight, but I just can't bank on that, so I'm going to go with Macy Chiesa to get a decision win. Up next here, we got an amazing fight, man. We got Corey Sandhagen taking on the legend, Frankie Edgar. And Frankie Edgar, you can't lie, man. I mean, a lot of people thought he lost his last fight against Pedro Munoz, but he looked good. He looked in shape. He went 5 rounds, pushed him hard, and got that split decision victory. But he's going to take it on Corey Sandhagen, who himself, he bounced back in a big way from his loss to Aljamain Sterling. Went in there, dominated Marlon Moraes, knocked him out with the spinning heel kick. So both these guys looked really good in their last fights. Obviously, this is Edgar's second fight at bantamweight now. He's fought his whole career at 155, 145. So he definitely is used to fighting bigger men. So it's going to be interesting in this one, because this is another one of these fights where obviously Corey can grapple and Frankie can strike, but it's going to be more like a grappler versus striker matchup with Corey Sandhagen trying to keep the range, switch stances, be tricky, touch Frankie Edgar, walk him into shots, And Frankie Edgar is going to be looking to use his boxing, use his footwork to close that distance, get on the inside, get in the clinch, maul him, take him down, shoot in on the legs, and get the fight to the ground where he's probably going to have the advantage. On the feet, Sandhagen, he's going to be the bigger, taller, longer guy, even though Frankie's obviously spent his career fighting at higher weight classes. And Sandhagen is going to be the faster, more dynamic guy with more tools in his arsenal. So I think early on he needs to maybe try to limit the kicks a little bit, but still move around, show him that he has everything, attack the body, go back up to the head, be economical, and really try to use those low kicks that Pedro Munoz used, because that really worked on Frankie Edgar. He really battered that leg of Edgar. And Frankie Edgar, obviously, if he can get in on Corey Sandhagen's body, I think in the body locks, he's going to be way stronger, because we've seen Corey Sandhagen kind of dominated in that facet, but Sandhagen is a good scrambler, and it's going to be interesting to see, if he can create scrambles, work back up to his feet, if Frankie Edgar is able to get inside, get it to the ground. But I do think that on the feet, the different looks, the movement, and everything that Sandhagen does is going to be a lot better than the boxing from Frankie. Frankie might be able to get inside, land a couple of shots, but I feel like Sandhagen's footwork and his movement is going to really frustrate Edgar, make him start to overextend, walk into some shots, and I think Sandhagen is going to start to touch him up, really find his range, and really be the superior striker. In terms of knocking him out, I see a lot of people liking that prop this week, like Corey Sandhagen by KO TKO. I'm not really sure about that. Frankie obviously is known to have an iron chain. He's fought a lot bigger guys, more power punchers than Sandhagen, and I don't think Sandhagen is necessarily going to be able to dig in or go forward on Frankie enough to hit the knockout if he wants to get the win. Frankie Edgar, obviously, is going to have the big grappling advantage, and Corey Sandhagen has proven to not really have the best takedown defense. So if Frankie Edgar can take him down, I do think he could control on top, and that's going to be the story of the fight, if Frankie Edgar is going to be able to get inside and hit the takedown. So he's a huge underdog. I think that line is insane. I think it should be like Sandhagen minus 200 or something, not minus 4, over 4-1. That's pretty crazy. A lot of disrespect on Frankie Edgar's name. I feel like this fight was 5 rounds in favor of Edgar a little bit more if he could get his game going. Over 3 rounds, I just feel like Sandhagen might frustrate and be too long, be too much on the feet. But man, I wouldn't be shocked to see Frankie Edgar, with this long reach himself, to be able to get in the boxing range, land some strikes up top, get Corey thinking, get him to the ground, and once he gets on top, I feel like he does have the top game to keep Corey on his back and dominate. So I think that the fight's way, way, way closer than the line indicates, but I'm actually going to go with Corey Sandhagen still. I think that he's just going to be the better striker, the younger, more youthful guy, out-volume Edgar, land some big shots, maybe hurt Frankie at some points in the fight, do enough, maybe stop the takedowns. If he does get taken down, I don't think Frankie's going to finish him, so I'm going to go with Sandhagen by decision. And up next here, finally, we got the main event. This is a sick fight, man. We got the Alistair Overeem, the living legend, taking on Alexander Volkov. And Alexander Volkov, he looked good in his last fight. He's headlining his 4th UFC event. And he bounced back from that loss to Curtis Blades. It looked like he put on some size. It was the biggest he'd ever been. Looked in good shape. Really dominated War Harris from pillar to post. Knocked him out in the second round. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights. If he can beat Reem, he's going to be closer than he's ever been to a title shot. His opponent, Alistair Overeem, obviously, he's a legend, but he's 40 years old. This is going to be his last run at the title. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights. Back-to-back finishes. He's really looked good since moving to Elevation Fight Team. And he started to use his full set of skills again, finish fights on the ground. His last 4 wins have all been ground and pound finishes. This is a pretty big step up from his last 2 opponents. So we'll see if he's ready for the challenge. But, man, both these guys are legit. We got Volkov, who's pretty much a kickboxer. He keeps range really well. He's a forward pressure guy. He obviously has that really long reach, really good size. And he wants to back guys up to the fence where he could pick and pull with his straight punches, use his knees, use his clinch attack, use his front kicks up the middle, his round kicks to the head, and kind of just pick and pull his way to a victory. When you see a lot of his fights, he doesn't really get a ton of finishes. He has a lot of knockout wins if you look at his record, but those are against guys that aren't very high-level guys. And when you look at his average UFC fight time, it's actually over 15 minutes due to him fighting in a couple main event fights, 5-round fights. In terms of the striking, I mean, I feel like Overeem is going to have the speed, the athleticism advantage. He's going to have the movement advantage. He's going to be able to move around, try to pot shot, walk Volkov into shots, and he's going to have the power advantage as well. So if he can land some big shots on Volkov, get him thinking about the striking, and make Volkov less willing to walk him down, then that's going to go a long way. But Volkov's the guy that kind of likes to put a sustained beatdown on you, attack the body, attack the head, be very deliberate, throw long combinations. Isn't necessarily a power puncher, but just puts the work on you and eventually wears you out, takes you out. I see a lot of people thinking he's just going to knock out Overeem. I know Overeem has that chin issue and everything like that. I mean, it's hard to overlook a guy that's been knocked out that many times, but I mean, he's taken a lot of hits recently in these fights against Walt Harris, against Sakai, against Sergey Pavlovich, against Curtis Blades. I mean, he took some bombs against certain guys. He's still there. Gets Jairzinho Rosenstrike even, who's a knockout artist. And Drago isn't a guy that really knocks guys out with one shot. So I don't know if he's just going to go out there and just nuke Overeem with one punch. He's going to have to hit him with the long combo, which is going to be hard to do in my opinion. In terms of the grappling, I mean, Drago is very bad wrestling defense, man. I mean, his takedown defense is pretty much non-existent. A lot of guys, once they get in on his legs, can just topple him over pretty easily. He got taken down 14 times in his fight against Curtis Blades. Just being such a tall guy, it's hard for him to stop takedowns. We've seen that rear its ugly head for Volkov time and time again. I mean, he suffered 2 submission losses early in his career. He suffered 3 losses in Bellator, all to grapplers. And in the UFC, I mean, he had a controversial split decision victory when he fought Timothy Johnson. He did defeat Fabricio Verdum, but it was an older Verdum, obviously, who's wasn't in his prime anymore. We saw that Verdum lose to Alexei Oleinik. And even Verdum was able to land some really ugly single legs. I mean, he really struggles to defend the single. Like I said, Curtis Blades took him down 14 times. Being 6'7", I mean, he has a decent guard. It's hard to pass. And he's gotten better with his get-up game against the cage. But if you take him down in the middle of the octagon, his get-up game is non-existent. Isn't dangerous off his back in terms of throwing up submissions. He just stays safe. I mean, he's using the cage. He uses the cage decently well to get back up to his feet. But outside of a 30-second flurry where he landed a knee against Curtis Blades, he lost that entire fight. He is hard to finish. You have to have the cardio to work 5 rounds. And that makes him dangerous because he did stun Blades in the 4th round and after getting just dominated with the grappling. So, I mean, he has those front knees up the middle he could throw. That's probably going to be the most dangerous thing for Overeem. But, I mean, Volkov, I don't feel like he's necessarily a guy that's fought a lot of guys on Overeem's level either. I feel like Overeem, if you can get in the clinch, grind on him against the cage, you can land those big knees, big elbows. Drago, I don't think he has the best chin either. He doesn't like getting hit. He doesn't like being in the pocket. We've seen him knocked out before. And if Reem can get on top of Volkov, I don't think Volkov is going to get back up to his feet. Both these guys have great cardio. And you have to think about it. I mean, this is Overeem's last opportunity, so he knows what's up. He knows he can't lose. He's going to come in here in the best shape of his career. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to be, I feel like some of his losses by knockout, I don't want to say like he quit in the fight, but it's like he'll shell up, they'll stop the fight. Whereas here, I think he knows, like, he's going to go out cold if you knock him out. He's going to be fighting till the last second. And Volkov, I mean, you see it right there on the screen. He's not very good in fights when he has to travel. 1-4 in his last 5 U.S. fights. This is a 5-round fight. I don't necessarily think he's going to have the cardio to just drown Overeem in the later rounds. I got Alistair Overeem in this one. I just feel like on the feet, he's going to be the better mover. Volkov is kind of deliberate. So he's going to be able to move when he fakes his level change. He's going to land his punches. When he starts landing a few shots, he's going to be able to land the takedowns. And I just think he's going to keep Volkov guessing, and he's going to either win a decision or get a finish. I mean, Reem is known for finishing guys, but I could see this being a decision win. But I'm going to go with the older guy. I'm going to go with Alistair Overeem here to get the win. So there you have it, guys. That's the breakdown for UFC Vegas 18, UFC Fight Night 184, which will take place on Saturday, February 6th. And I just wanted to take this time right here to give a really big shout out to everyone that signed up for the Patreon, that's supported the channel. We had quite a few people sign up, and it's truly appreciated, man. I'm really hoping as many people sign up as possible to that, because the more people that sign up, the more time I can invest in that, and just the better it'll get. And it's really going to be beneficial for both of us, I think. This Friday, it is my birthday, so I mean, if you guys want to give me a birthday present, I mean, going over there and pledging would be, nice for sure. But really appreciate everyone that's done that. We're coming off a real profitable weekend, and really hope a lot of you guys get into that and look into it, because I am going to be starting to put up some really good content over there, all my bets and everything like that. So if we can win some money together, it'll be nice. And just want to give a shout out to the Mecca, Mr. Arkansas, his channel. There's 10 people left in the second season, so getting down to the wire again. There's no more teams, so it's back to the old format of last year, and should be fun for that as well. But in terms of parlay of the week, a most confident pick for this week, the underdog of the week. The parlay of the week is going to be Cody, Stamann, Timur, Valiev, and Youssef, Zalal. For my most confident pick of the week, it's going to be Cody, Stamann. And for the underdogs of the week, it's going to be Manel, Kape, Clay, Guida, Beneil, Dariush, and Alistair, Overeem. So I do think there's a lot of live dogs on this card. And thanks for watching, guys, once again. Make sure to leave a like, put a comment down below, and let's get this thing churned out. So thanks for watching, guys. Share with as many people as you can, and let's go. Let's have a good weekend.